So, what we're going to talk about now are the 5 keys to self awareness. Okay? And so, this is where I want you to take some notes. And, you know, you can only really be as successful as you are aware of yourself. And oftentimes our focus is on other people and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. But I need to understand, you have to understand the 5 keys of self awareness. Okay. And so the first key of self awareness is called self concept. Now, I've taught this to some of you before. You learned this last year with me. But I'm bringing you back to these things that you must understand about yourself if you expect to be successful with you, not in the world, not at your job, but successful with you, and in turn, successful in relationships. Okay? So the first one is your self-concept. How do you perceive yourself? What is your perception of yourself? Okay? Your self-perception comes from your personal experiences, like growing up and how you thought about yourself through all the exchanges and all the intersections that you've had with other people, what the world has told you about people like you, and what you have adopted and accepted as truth about yourself. So also your self-concept is tied to what you expect for yourself. You know, I hear Shatira talking about expecting a certain thing. And so some people don't expect anything. And so that's tied to their self-concept. Other people expect the world to give them everything. And they end up being victims. And that's their self-concept. They have unrealistic ideas. They have entitlement. What is your self-concept? What you believe about your experience on the planet, about your exchange with other people, is your self-concept. What you believe about your ability is your self-concept. Is it positive or is it negative? Think about that. Just right now, just take a minute and think about, what is my self-concept? What is it that I think about myself? 5 keys of self-awareness. This is the first key. Are there any questions? The second key are your thoughts. I want you to understand, your thoughts are very, very powerful. And they are a component of you. Are your thoughts effective to a healthy self-concept, is what I want you to think about. Your thoughts are tied to your emotion. So you must understand your thoughts. You have to understand what you're thinking. You can no longer be walking along asleep. You can no longer, like, you're too old now to not know what you're thinking, to not be able to transcribe it, to not to be able to pause and say, what am I thinking? Because your thinking is showing up in your living. Sometimes we think the living is the problem, but we can't see that our thinking created the experience. There's a complete correlation. I said, your thoughts are tied to your emotions. How do you talk about yourself? What do you say to yourself about yourself? Again, do you have a positive or negative thought relationship with yourself? We're talking about self-awareness. You're not going to always be positive. That's fine. You're not going to always be negative. I hope. The second key is your thoughts. You have to be aware of your thinking. If you're going to be a successful adult, you have to know your thoughts. The third key is your feelings. Your feelings are not fact. As a matter of fact, you cannot count on your feelings to be the determinant of your behavior. You have to learn how to manage your feelings, or they will become the emotion you express. Understand, feelings are inside of you. It is the release of hormones. You feel it. Nobody else is feeling it but you. Your feelings become your emotions. You feel it and then you emote it. Does that make sense? So you have to be aware of your feelings. What am I feeling? How do you feel when you say the things you say about yourself? How do you feel when other people say things about you? How do you feel when someone tells you no? Where do you feel it in your body? No matter what you feel, good or not, you need to be able to identify them. You need to be able to tie a word to them. You need to be able to give language to what you're feeling. Because your feelings are tied to what? Your self-concept and your thoughts. Let's see. I don't think I'm good enough. And when you didn't invite me to the party, I had the thought that I'm not good enough to be invited to your party. And then I felt not good enough in my chest. You with me? That's where we are so far. You got it? The fourth of these is the body. You have to be able to master your body. Your body releases chemicals in it based on what you think, based on what you perceive. You have a self-concept. You think a thought based on that. You feel it, but where do you feel it? In your body. And because you feel it in your body, you are sure that it's real. The adrenaline is pumping. Fight or flight has been set into motion. You want to do something about it. You want to move this feeling out of your throat. So you start yelling. You want to move that feeling out of your stomach. So you start drinking or you start smoking. You've never learned how to master your body. So it governs your choices. The first line of defense when your body is about to take you somewhere you don't want to go, by fighting or fussing or being unmanageable, is to breathe. You use your body to manage your body. You breathe. You have to be aware of yourself enough to breathe. You with me?
That's my favorite to do now.
Breathing.
And the minute I started feeling anxious, I instantly dropped right into it.
It changes the body. And once you get mastery over the body, as you described, as soon as I feel it, I know what to do. I know how to breathe. Because now when I breathe, the body is not going to determine what happens next. I'm going to be able to tap into, what am I feeling? It's going to take me out of my midbrain where I react, because the next one is emotion. Where I react in emotion, it's going to allow, the breathing is going to allow me to respond, because I'm now going to become aware of what I'm thinking, how I'm seeing myself in this room, my self-concept. What am I feeling? The fifth key to self-awareness is emotion. Okay? So how I am going to behave based on what I'm feeling. You know, it's the most powerful factor and how we interact with ourselves, because it goes from how I see myself to what I think to what I feel, what my body is doing to what I do, how it comes out of my body, how I express to you what's happening inside of me. People with higher levels of emotional intelligence can recognize what they feel, manage it effectively, and be effective in relationships. Emotion is how I show you what I think about myself, how I show you what I think about myself, how I show you what I feel about myself, how I show you what's happening in my body. Emotion, feelings, and action. And I'm feeling based on my thinking, and I'm thinking based on how I perceive myself. 5 keys of self-awareness. You got it? Any questions?
So, Dr. Z, so number 1 is, how do you perceive yourself? Number 2 is, what are your thoughts? Number 3 is, what am I feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? Number 4 is, how will I behave based off of how I'm feeling? Is that correct?
5 keys. Self-concept, how I perceive myself, thought, what I think, feelings, because I think it, then I feel it. Where do I feel it? In my body. That's 4. Mastering the body. And 5 is emotion, how I behave it. You got it? Body was 4. Mastering the body. You have to master the body. Okay? Got it?